Replace fear with the confidence to make sales. Developing offers, honing communication, building relationships, intentionally creating success for yourself, your customers, and your community. Join Corey Barrier and Callye Keene as they learn and share the exact strategies to harness ADHD into a superpower. Join us as we become sales legends.
All right. What's up, dude? We're live.
What's up, Corey?
I'm pretty excited about this conversation today, but it feels like, did we miss? Oh, that's right. I did the solo last week, which was interesting. It just came out, which, we went a little bit out of order. I got a few things mixed up with our show notes, but, everything's coming together.
Hey, man, and any kind of new show, new format like this, it takes a little while to get everything going, but people are listening and the content has been really great. So I don't know, you gotta get on, you gotta listen, you gotta share this out because I listened to a few of the episodes. I was like, man, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, dude. And look, we should see quite a spike because, I was just on Peter Shankman's podcast and it just came out. He's got the number one ADHD podcast, I believe, in the whole space, from what I understand. Pretty cool. That was a good conversation. It was interesting, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, he seems like a pretty cool dude.
So what are we talking about? We're talking about actually
closing the deal.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So look, it's not always be closing. It's not, you got to be a hardcore closer. It's not any of those things. In fact, I would say it's the opposite of that. I think that, if people if you go in trying to close the deal, you're probably not going to close it because all you're thinking about is like the aftermath. You're thinking about whatever you're going to do with the money that you get from the deal. You've already spent the money on whatever right. And so you're jammed up, right? And then you don't close the deal. And now you're double screwed because you got your hopes up and you didn't make any money. And so people get it wrong, Callye. And, I think they've got to start waking up because this is just not how people buy anymore. They just don't.
Yeah. And if you subscribe to this thought, you're putting yourself as a victim to what I call magical thinking. All right. It's a fantasy. It's the same thinking that people fall for in their marketing. They think that there's one simple trick, they're one tactic away, they're one strategy away from their business not sucking. When they don't have a good offer, they don't have a good website, or they don't have the ability to write good copy, they don't have good content, they don't have a good sales team. They want all these things and they think like, if I just use this one little new technique for marketing, bam, my business is going to be perfect. And salespeople think the same thing. And I know what it is because business is hard, life is long, and we have to build experience. But you think, oh, if I just knew this trick, it would be easy. And I want everyone to just be happy that it's not easy, because then you wouldn't be in business, right? Some young buck would come right behind you. They just do exactly that one simple trick and you wouldn't have shit. But man, closing, everybody's obsessed with this. They don't realize that's like a point in a whole line of things before and after. But
yeah,
dude,
it's like if somebody asked me, like, Corey, just tell me some closing methods, show me some closing techniques. Great, I'm happy to do that. But guess what, Callye? You're not going to be able to implement that shit because you don't have the other fucking steps. You can't just expect for me to give you a closing strategy and now you're a fucking killer in sales. That's not how it works.
yeah, it's like, oh, now I know presumptive close. I'm unstoppable. Like, yeah, you and the other million people that know what a presumptive close is. If you don't, you need to follow our group a little bit more closely. That's not really talking about, but in reality, I think us dialing into ADHD. I think people over focus on this, and then they drop the ball on follow up. They drop the ball on. They talk to somebody, they don't close right away, and then they kind of get their feelings hurt, maybe, or they take it too personally, and they don't want to send that email or make that call when, or we know it's going to take 5, 6 times to build a relationship with somebody to even get them to where we need them to go, right?
That's right. So what can we do? We put systems and processes in place. If you're the person that, and look, I've struggled with this all my life. You're the person that says, well, I'm going to follow up 3 times and then fuck that guy if he doesn't want to respond, right? If you put systems and processes in place, then you may be able to follow up with him 38 times and not even have to think about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're following my strategy for nurturing, you're essentially going to follow up with them an infinite amount of times.
Yeah. Till they say, absolutely not. Stop calling me. Stop emailing me or unsubscribe, whatever.
I don't want to be in this group anymore. I don't want to listen to this podcast anymore. I want to unsubscribe to this YouTube channel. I want to do whatever. And all the places that I end up being, I don't want to be involved anymore. I don't want to win. They can walk away. But otherwise, there's lots of ways of following up, systematizing. That's what we've been working on for 6 months. All the
Yeah.
different strategies of how do you make that lightweight? And this is going to be different for everybody. It's different for you than it is for me, but it's going to be different for everybody that's listening. And if you can use your powers to imagine what that process ideally would look like, and then you can get a system, whether it's like the VAs that you're working on, right?
Yep.
Or this, or the automation that I'm working on, or the systems and processes that we've been kind of tweaking. So you don't have to remember, or you don't have to remember to forget.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's key because, for people like me and like you, like we need like, shoot, I have one of my notes right here, but like, this is such a simple thing. And this doesn't have anything to do with closing, but sort of, right? This note, right? I use your system. As stupid as this may sound to people, I write down whatever I'm doing, put it on my computer as much as I don't want to do that. Cause I think it's stupid that I have to do that. But guess what?
It works.
It works and I'm going to close more deals if I do that one trick, because I'm not going to forget to email that most important person that otherwise I would forget.
So I'll show you. I got lots of papers on my desk that look like this, right? Because I just write. I do a couple of things. I do write my power list. I do write down if I think of something that I need to do, instead of going and pursuing, checking that email, doing that thing, I write it down. And at the end of the day, I probably won't even have done all those things that have popped in my head, but I need to pop them out of my head. Okay, so I write them down and then I'll put them into a reminder list. But I write that one thing that I'm doing down right now. And I look at that and I just do that thing until it's done. There's no value in partially doing something. And this is kind of like closing, right? We need to close ourselves on the agreement that we've made with ourselves. I am going to do this thing, and confidence is built by meeting the expectations and obligations to ourselves, right?
Yep. That's right.
And once we can consistently do that, you'll realize that you're using your ability to focus, and then you're using that ability to get distracted and thinks of tangents and all that to just kind of remember. And we can go deeper into that strategy. But when we talk about closing, Corey, I think that people do this, and ADHD people do this too, is that that you're supposed to move forward, but you end up talking to somebody about some bullshit.
Yes, you're right. And here's why. And here's why it happens. And look, if you're at the closing table, the rapport should be built way before that, right?
Yep.
But people get nervous, right? If you and I are sitting down and we're getting ready to you're getting ready to sign the deal, and maybe the paper's in front of you, right? You have pen in hand, and you get distracted by somebody coming in the door or your assistant, and then we start talking, and now I get nervous because I'm like, fuck, he hasn't signed it yet. So I'm going to fill the time. I'm going to add more value to Callye right now, so he signed that piece of paper. That's how we think, and it's the wrong thinking.
Yeah,
because all you're going to do,
overbill.
yeah, hell yeah, oversell, absolutely.
Oh yeah,
sell yourself right out of the deal.
yeah. You're gonna see this. You see this with content too. It's like I try to walk a fine line. Is that I know that I want to give out lots of content. We want to do this. You do the same thing. Give out lots of content. Put valuable posts out, podcasts out to help people. But at a certain point, and I don't care what in what sales you're in. If you're in software, this might be case studies, right? If this is cars, it might be car information. If I give people all the information and specs on 10 different cars, it's going to make them 10 have to make 10 decisions. And then they actually have to make, if you're into math, it would be a factorial decision because you have to compare every car to every other car. So it's 10 factorial. And that equates to thousands of decisions. Okay. So what you've just done is you haven't given people choices, you've given them problems, you've given them homework. You create a lot of content. Well, now the people have to weed through that content. They have to devour that, and they're thinking in their head, okay, well, I've got to work through the value that Corey just gave me before I can move forward with Corey. Oh, he just told me something that was disruptive for my entire organization, so powerful, and I need to work through that before I can move forward with him. So unless you're very careful, providing value is always a great way to build rapport and build relationships. But when you give someone homework versus value, you're moving them farther away from closing. And a lot of people are doing this not because out of the spirit of giving or they want reciprocity. They're doing it because they're afraid to talk to people about money. They're afraid to push for the close. They're afraid to just say, hey, man, look, I gave away a ton of free stuff, and I know that you're probably looking at it and struggling to implement it and integrate it, but that's exactly what the program is for, is that with my help, I can guide you through all of that and make it really applicable to you instead of just being like, well, I guess they'll fill out that application form when they're ready.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And look, it and in the language, I want to just kind of segue this a little bit. So the language too that you use in when you're going through, let's just call that closing process, is very important. And when it's when you feel like you need to close the sale, like whether it's you got bills, whatever it is, whatever the reason is, I promise you, your person can tell that you're freaking out inside. I promise you, like they know they can feel it. And look, especially ADHD people are intuitive. We have a, I don't know what you'd call it. I guess intuition that's different. And it's a little bit more enhanced than I believe what normal people, because we can feel people's energy. Maybe everybody could do that, but I don't think that's the case. So anyway, so when you're using, you have to pay attention to the language that you use, right? Don't feel needy. Don't come to the closing table needing anything. Come to the closing table prepared to either do business or not do business, but be okay with either one. Because so far, you haven't gained or lost anything if you're at the closing table. You're still at ground zero, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. So don't go in with fear, because what do you have to lose? Nothing. You haven't gained anything.
I always think of this question that I initially heard car salesmen say, and the question is phrased differently for different industries, of course, but this is super powerful. What can I do to get you into a new car today?
That is pretty powerful, actually.
So what you're doing is you're putting the onus, the responsibility on yourself. What can I do to move you forward today? What can I do to do this for you today? And they would say, look, man, I'm just shopping around. You say, great. Well, no pressure here, but I do sell cars for a living, so I know a lot about all the cars that are on the lot. So if you want to look and save yourself some time, tell me what you're looking for, and I can help you find it just like this. It's hot out today. Why do you want to walk around with the kids? Well, they sit inside, get a snack, get some drinks of water. Let's look at a couple cars. No pressure, but I also have all the keys, right?
That was so good.
But like, I think this is the same situation, right? This is like the person just said what they want. They want to look at cars, right? Okay, great.
Right.
Well, I know where they all are. This is a big lot, right? Tell me exactly what you're looking for, and I'll save you an hour, because looking on your own, it's going to take an hour to look at all these in the hot sun. Tell me what you want. We'll go right to those cars, 15 minutes, and you're out of here.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you could, dude, this is the same thing for everything. Is what did I just do? It wasn't a tactic or a trick. It was me asking what somebody needs, so I can move forward in any direction, right? I want to move
Right.
forward because if the guy said nothing, get lost, bozo, I'd be like, great. I've just closed this and now I have the rest of the day or I have the rest of my time to go talk to somebody else who's not an asshole because like why are they there? Like why did somebody hop on the phone with you to talk about your software or your service or coaching or your plumbing or your product or your or why did they show up to your business to do this? Why did they take the appointment? Why are you at their business? Why are they wasting their own time? They're not. You're wasting their time because you don't know what they need to be able to make a decision. And if they say it, it's probably not as clear, but it should be clear to you because you do the same thing over and over again. They're going to say something like, I just want to compare prices. Like, great. Well, I am in this industry, so I know all the competitors and why people choose the different ones. So who have you been looking at? Right now, I just got information. Now I can just walk this through and be like, you know what? That software is fantastic. All of my bigger customers, they love it. They love it. I'll even tell you that right now, after everybody hits about $50 million, they quit our software, and we actually help them transition into software just like that. I don't know. You have a really great business here. I don't know. And I could be wrong. But you're not at $50 million, are you? No, I'm at $5 million. Well, that's great. Because that's exactly where we sit in the market. So I love that. And I can tell you exactly why they're fantastic for businesses that you're going to grow into and you're going to grow into that. But let's talk about what we're doing. And you can think about this infinitely is like, for me, dude, closing is just it's a process of just trying to move forward, right? I want to take one step at a time. And usually people have some idea in their head. It's going to take too long, too much of their own time. It's going to cost too much. They want to choose their options. They don't want to be sold, right? All of these things. So for me, like, because I'm not really a salesperson, I just want to know what those are so we can move forward and I can like cut the meeting short.
So also you did something really important there that you did it probably unconsciously because you do it all the time, but it's really important to point out in how you delivered the message about the $50 million, and that's where we're going to transition you to once you get there. Future pacing, right? It's what you're doing is you painted the dream before you got to the real question, and that person's already thinking about, well,
How I'm going to help them get to 50 million and how
yeah,
I'm going to help them transition away from my company. Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
That's exactly what they're thinking. And so that's why you get the answer that you get because they're thinking about the future.
The reason that I say that is because, I'm in contract manufacturing, and that's exactly what I tell people is that, okay, well, what we do is complete life cycle contract manufacturing. I take somebody from they want to make 1 to 1 million. And a common objection that they have is that they're comparing us to $1 billion traded on the stock market contract manufacturers, right? There's 2 really big ones in the US. And they're thinking with their success mind, this is going to be gold, man. I'm going to make hundreds of thousands of these, hundreds of thousands a month. And so they're thinking like this rinky dink operation can't possibly get me where I want to go. So they're like, how would you compare to this? And I say, that's fantastic. Actually, I've helped that company do this and this and this. And what we do, you're right. We cannot stand up $1 billion manufacturing plant for your product. But what I can do is what I've done for XYZ in the past, where we help people grow from about here to here. So in my case, like we support programs that are under $1 billion, and the manufacturing spend is usually between 500,000 and say $10 million. That's great. Once it's beyond that, you're all set up with all the processes and procedures that you need to easily transition that to your own facility or as big as you possibly could go. And we can help you support that. And here's some examples of how we've done that. But it's the same thing, dude. It's the same thing as the software conversation. It's that it is easier to sell somebody if you look at that line, like I was saying, that timeline of all the events, and you put success way out there. Like because and I'll be honest with you that only 1 in 10 of those projects really go to any significant volume where it's difficult for us to even manufacture it at all, right? It's more common that people won't make any of them and we have to cut them loose,
Why is that? They run out of money?
because they don't know how to sell.
Of course.
Yeah. It's
Right.
much like, it's a much bigger problem. Like, people don't focus on sales. That's, like, why we talk, right? They don't focus on selling their product, they focus on making their product, and like I tell you all the time, you can just hire some nerd like me to make your product. It is an easily solvable problem with money, whereas marketing and sales is not, right? You can spend $100 million and not get $100 million back in marketing and sales. In manufacturing, you can spend $10 million, you'll get $10 million worth of product. Probably get 20 or $30 million worth of, MSRP product. It is a easily solvable problem, and by that, it's very difficult, but it's solvable by money. Like, zero time, zero knowledge, just solved with money. But selling the product, they don't think about that because they've never sold something or they've never sold that thing before because it's new, right? So you have to presume success and paint that picture of you with them as successful. I don't know what that would be for a car salesman, but we talk about with plumbers, right? All the time
Mhm.
is is being proactive instead of reactive, right? So
Yeah.
painting that, like, safety, security, function, like, care and no risk. So you'd say, like, hey, if there's a really complicated problem, like your whole basement is flooded, like, we even work with people during natural disaster recoveries and we partner with this company. If your tank explodes, you're covered by insurance. And then we have a team of drywallers and floorers and structural guys that come in and we work with them, and your pipes will be better than they ever were before because we'll get to do it from scratch. It won't be builder grade, it'll be pro grade. And so, like, taking those concerns that are in the future and painting them of why you would want to take action in the present.
Yeah, and it'd be like it's like a Swiss Army knife, right? I mean, if you can be the go-to guy, then you're always gonna be the guy, right? They go to you for anything, and that's one of the things you do really well is that you just answer anything. You're like, "Well, if I know how to answer it, I'll answer it, whatever it is," right? And that's important. So, anyway, yeah, dude, so this is really cool. Yeah, if you're having trouble closing, like, you just gotta think about your approach. You gotta think about how you're handling the customer and how you're reading the customer, how the customer is reading you. Because if you don't think about those things, then that's probably why you're falling on your face if that's what's happening. Or maybe you're not doing a good enough qualifying the person. Because if you're getting a bunch of goose eggs, then you're not qualifying them correctly, most likely, which is not closing.
For sure. I want people to use that tangential thinking, right? The thinking that has you hop from one idea or one logic to the next. I want you to think about that in this conversation. So use that power to, like, see into the future. Use that power to see into that person's mind and be able to paint a picture of what their life would look like in the present. So instead of getting distracted, you have to maybe tell that story a little bit better because your brain's already hopped 5 hops, ahead. And if you start talking about, you know, living in the future, flying cars and shit, you're gonna sound like a crazy person. But if you can talk to them about what they want and how you're gonna support them until they get it, you can start, I don't know, pre-answering those objections. I really think that tangential thinking is very creative, and it's a superpower of ADHD. Is that you can think of causes, like, if this happens, then this person will feel like this, and then I'll feel like this, and then this. But the problem is that you're down the road 10 steps, and then you say something, you forget what you're talking about, and you say that thing that's down there. So
Yeah.
walk through this process. Dude, this is why people should be doing role playing and
Oh, dude.
sales coaching. But if
So
they can figure out how to read somebody and then walk them through those logic steps, boom, 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 in a conversation, they're gonna be an amazing closer. It's just they need to set that time up with you and the people in the group or their friends or their, colleagues at work so they can actually walk through those conversations so they can be really good and understand what we just talked about today.
Dude, maybe I'll do a live role play. That would be pretty fucking fun, actually.
Yeah, bring a client on and do some live role play. I think that would be cool. Maybe
I
some
think that's what I'm thinking. Like, just, how people could pop in and pop out, right? Or alive, right? That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. So anyway, we'll make that happen. Anyway, guys, look, if you haven't joined Sales Legends by, please do that. You click on the button below. And that's all I got, bro.
All right, awesome.
Let's close it out. Thank you, guys.